Hi everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of BWD. In this series, we're learning how to code a command line app to scrape song lyrics from the internet. And today, we finally get it done. If you're new to this channel or you're back watching this video, do not forget you can find timestamps in the video description below. And all the code you're gonna see today is available on GitHub. Again, link in the description below. And now, without further ado, let's get started. To run mylyrics as a command line utility, we have seen that we have to go through a two-step solution. In the first part, we have to run the code as a package. And here, we have done basically two things. First, create the main file, and second, use the argparse library to collect the command line arguments. In the second part, we will learn how to build the distribution of our code and then get it working. First, we will see how to build the code. To do so, we will have to create two configuration files, the setup.config and the project.toml file. Then, after we will have built the distribution, we'll be ready to install and run it. So finally, after this last step, we will be able to run mylyrics as a command line app. Alright, so if you have no idea about what a distribution is, don't worry, I got you covered. However, instead of giving you formal definitions and this kind of stuff, which you can find anywhere on the internet, I will explain it to you using an analogy. So this is a picture from the early days of Tesla. As you can see, there are engineers that are working on a car. But that car is a prototype. This means that the car has never been sold properly. Because prototypes are for testing, and they are never the final version of the product. So why is this relevant in our case? Well, because the software that we wrote so far can be considered as a prototype. It's something that works for sure, but it's not the code that you will publish on the PyIndex so then other people can download it and install it. So if we go back to our analogy, today Tesla ships hundreds of cars every day. And each car on the road has been battle tested in the factory to make sure that everything works as it should. So exactly like a car that gets out of the factory, a software distribution is the software that is shipped and installed by millions of people on their machine. And now we will see how to do that. So I hope this is clear. If not, let me know in the comment section below. Alright, back to the terminal, let's go to the root directory of our project. So here we're going to start by defining the two configuration files that we need. But again, it's out of the scope of this video to go into details of how to package code. So let's try to make this as digestible as possible, in such a way that you have a basic understanding of what you're doing. So essentially, to complete any task, you need two types of information, right? First, you should know what the task is all about, or in other words, what your goals are and what you're trying to achieve. Second, you should know what you have at your disposal to get the job done. So let's just say that the pyproject file is just a list with all the tools that Python should use to create the distribution. So for the purpose of this video, just copy what you see on the screen and let's move on. Then there is the setup file. You can think about it like a receipt, which specifies to Python how the final result should look like. And here we're gonna go a little bit more into details, but just briefly. In the first section, we're going to provide some metadata, like the name of the package, the version, and then a short description. In the options section, we're gonna write a list of requirements. First, a Python version, and second, all the third-party dependencies that are needed. In our case, request and beautiful soup. In the following section, we're gonna specify where all the Python code that should be included in the distribution can be found. And in our case, this is very simple. Everything is going to be in the source directory. Finally, in the last section, we're gonna specify where is the entry point when the mylyrics package is run as a command line app. So here we're gonna write the main file and specifically the main function within it. So I hope that this kind of explains why in the previous episode we had to wrap the client code into the main function. So let's go back to the terminal and let's build the distribution. However, to do it, we need to install first a library called build. So now you may ask, but what is this build library exactly? Build is a Python package that is specifically designed for building Python software. And the way it works is a standardized one, meaning that the steps that are performed every time by build are always the same. So, going back to the Tesla analogy, you can think about build as the production line. The production line is basically a sequence of steps which every car that gets out of the factory has to go through, right? And not all the cars are identical. One might be white, another might be black, another one might have different interiors, so there are going to be differences. But no matter what, each car is going through the same sequence of steps. And this happens in the production line. And you can think about build exactly like a production line. Every package that is built using the build library is going through the same sequence of steps. And exactly like cars can be different, also software distributions can be different. Some differences come out from the code itself, which is the code found in the source directory. But other differences are the result of what is written in the two configuration files. So, what build does in practice is, first, read the two configuration files, and second, take the source code and build the distribution out of it. And the steps that are executed in the last phase are affected by the values in the configuration files. So again, it's out of the scope of this video to explain you how packaging Python code actually works. So I really hope that the way that I describe makes the whole process more digestible, but if not, let me know in the comment section below. Alright, with that said, let's install build. Great, now we are finally ready to start building. To do it, all we gotta do is simply to type in build without any additional arguments. And build will take care of everything, as long as the two configuration files are found in the same folder where you're running the command. As you can see, there are a lot of logs that are coming out from the building process. And again, it's not the scope of this video to go into details of this, but I just wanna show you one relevant thing. This way, I hope these logs are gonna be less obscure than what they actually look like, especially if this is your first time seeing them. Here, this bold log is saying, building will. So what is this will thing? Well, it's simply the distribution itself. And as you can read down here, the files from the source directory are being copied into the distribution itself. So, with this done, what now? Well, let's finally have a look at the distribution. As we can see here, in the root folder of our project, there is a new folder called dist. And guess what? That's where we're gonna find the distribution. If we check its content, we can see that there isn't just one file, but rather two. The first one is the will file, which is the distribution. And then there is the zipped file, which is still the distribution. So now you may ask, but what's the difference between them? It's just a type of file. Both are distribution, and that's because in Python you can style a distribution either from a zipped file or a will. And in our case, we're gonna use the will. So let's see how to install it. First, let's start by deactivating the virtual environment we have been using so far. And let's create a new one, which we're gonna call env_dist. That's because here we're not going to install the library listed in the requirements file, but instead we're going to install the distribution itself. As you can see, if we list the content of the root directory of our project, there are two environments now. Let's activate the new fresh environment, and then let's run pip install. But this time, we won't pass the requirement file, but instead the path where the distribution can be found. So if you want to have a quick look at the logs, you're gonna discover that first, request and beautiful soup are downloaded. And then there is a sequence of other packages that we did not list in the config file, but are installed as they are dependencies of either request or beautiful soup. In the next log, we can see that pip is installing all these dependencies. And again here, we find request, beautiful soup, and finally mylyrics. In the final log, we can read that mylyrics has been successfully installed. So now it's finally time to give it a try. Let's start by calling the mylyrics app with the help option. And great, it works. Now let's try to scrape Yesterday by Beatles. And here they are, these are the lyrics. Great, but let's try also with another song. Let's go with We Will Rock You by Queen, to be sure that this wasn't just a case. Great, it worked also here. And finally, let's try also with Baby One More Time by Britney Spears. So, I hope that you are very happy about it, because it has been quite a long way to get here. And let me say that you should be proud of yourself, because it might seem easy, but it's actually not, especially if you're a newcomer to Python. Alright, before saying goodbye, let me say that this was just part number 1, and there is still a ton that we can do together. First, we can try to scrape the lyrics from another website. And if you got this far, you should be able to do it yourself. If you make it, I'd love to see your code, so don't be shy and open a pull request, then in the next episode it will be your code and not mine. Next, but this can also be done in parallel, we can apply a simple design pattern to the codebase. Finally, we can add new functionalities. For example, find all the songs for a target artist, or given a title song, find the artist. Another one might be, given any word, find me all the songs with that word in their title. But guys, these are only my ideas. If you have any suggestion or an idea, just write it down in the comment section below. So, with that said, do not forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!